It was discovered at that time Terry Bollea, also known as Hulk Hogan, was experiencing a serious medical-related issue.
On July 24, 2025, the wrestling world stood still. Fans couldn't believe what they were reading. News spread across television, social media, and sports websites within minutes. Hulk Hogan, one of the biggest icons in wrestling history, was gone. For millions of people, it felt impossible. Because Hulk Hogan wasn't just another wrestler. He was the face of an entire generation. The man who transformed professional wrestling from a niche form of entertainment into a worldwide phenomenon. His voice, his signature mustache, the red and yellow colors, and one simple question: "What you gonna do, brother?" became part of pop culture forever. But behind the roaring crowds, the championship belts, and the larger-than-life personality, was a man fighting battles that very few people ever saw. Years of surgeries, constant pain, family heartbreak, financial struggles, public scandals, and a body that slowly began paying the price for decades of entertaining millions. In his final years, Hogan admitted something that shocked many longtime fans. He once said that after so many surgeries, there wasn't much of his original body left. The superhero millions admired was quietly breaking down. Yet despite everything, he refused to stop smiling. He refused to stop meeting fans. And he never stopped believing that Hulkamania would live forever. So, what really happened during Hulk Hogan's final years? How did the biggest superstar in wrestling history go from standing in front of 90,000 screaming fans to spending much of his later life recovering from one surgery after another? The answer begins long before the fame, long before WrestleMania, and long before the world knew the name Hulk Hogan. Born Terry Bollea on August 11, 1953, in Augusta, Georgia, he grew up in a hard-working family before moving to Tampa, Florida, as a young child. Unlike many future wrestling stars, Terry's first dream wasn't wrestling. It was music. As a teenager, he loved playing the bass guitar and spent countless nights performing with local rock bands. Friends believed music would become his future. But life had different plans. Standing over 6 feet tall with an incredibly muscular physique, Terry naturally attracted attention wherever he went. During the 1970s, bodybuilding was exploding in popularity. Inspired by legends like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terry dedicated himself to transforming his body. Hours in the gym became part of his daily routine. The harder he trained, the bigger he became. It wasn't long before local wrestlers noticed him. One invitation to visit a wrestling school changed everything. Training was brutal. Professional wrestling wasn't glamorous. Newcomers were pushed to their limits physically and mentally. Many quit after only a few weeks. Terry didn't. Every fall, every slam, every injury only strengthened his determination. Soon, promoters began noticing the massive young athlete with incredible charisma. One promoter gave him a nickname inspired by his incredible size: Hulk. Later, after appearing on television alongside actor Lou Ferrigno, who played the Incredible Hulk, the name stuck. Eventually, Hulk Hogan was born. It sounded larger than life. And before long, the man behind the name would become even larger. By the late 1970s, Hogan was wrestling across different territories, slowly building experience and attracting bigger audiences. His combination of size, confidence, and natural charisma made him impossible to ignore. Fans loved him. Promoters loved him even more. Then came the opportunity that changed wrestling history forever. In the early 1980s, Vince McMahon had a bold vision. He wanted to transform professional wrestling into national entertainment, not just a regional attraction, a global phenomenon. To achieve that dream, he needed one unforgettable superstar, someone who looked like a real-life superhero, someone children would admire, someone audiences would instantly recognize. The moment Vince McMahon looked at Hulk Hogan, he knew he had found that person. It became one of the most important decisions in sports entertainment history. Because once Hulk Hogan stepped into the WWF, nothing in professional wrestling would ever be the same again. When Hulk Hogan officially joined the World Wrestling Federation in the early 1980s, professional wrestling was about to change forever. At the time, wrestling was still largely a regional business. Different promotions controlled different parts of the United States. Few wrestlers were recognized nationwide. But Vince McMahon had a much bigger dream. He wanted wrestling to become mainstream entertainment. To do that, he needed one larger-than-life hero. Someone who looked unstoppable. Someone children wanted to become. Someone parents enjoyed cheering for. Hulk Hogan was the perfect choice. Standing nearly 7 feet tall in wrestling boots, with his trademark blonde handlebar mustache, colorful bandanas, and unmatched charisma, he looked less like an athlete and more like a comic book superhero brought to life. In January 1984, Hogan defeated the Iron Sheik to win his first WWF Championship. That victory wasn't just another title change. It marked the birth of something the wrestling world had never seen before: Hulkamania. Almost overnight, children started wearing red and yellow shirts. Fans copied his poses. They ripped off their t-shirts just like Hogan did before every big match. His catchphrases echoed through arenas across America. Say your prayers. Eat your vitamins. Believe in yourself. Unlike many wrestling stars of the era, Hogan wasn't just selling tickets. He became a role model. Parents admired his positive message. Children saw him as a real-life superhero. Soon, Hulk Hogan wasn't simply the face of wrestling. He became one of the most recognizable celebrities on Earth. Then came WrestleMania. In 1985, Vince McMahon launched what many believed was an impossible gamble: a wrestling event combining sports and Hollywood entertainment. Everything depended on one man: Hulk Hogan. Teaming with Mr. T, Hogan headlined the very first WrestleMania. The event became an enormous success. It didn't just save WWE. It completely transformed professional wrestling forever. From that moment forward, WrestleMania became the biggest annual event in sports entertainment, and Hulk Hogan was its biggest attraction. Year after year, arenas filled with tens of thousands of fans hoping to witness Hulkamania live. He faced wrestling legends including Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior, and many others. But one match became truly unforgettable: WrestleMania 3. More than 93,000 fans packed the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan. Standing across the ring was the seemingly unbeatable Andre the Giant. Most people believed Hogan had no chance. Then came the moment that wrestling fans still talk about today. Hogan somehow lifted the 520-pound giant over his shoulders and slammed him to the canvas. The arena erupted. It instantly became one of the most iconic moments in wrestling history. For many fans, that single body slam defined an entire generation. As Hulkamania exploded around the world, opportunities outside wrestling quickly followed. Hollywood came calling. Hogan appeared in movies like No Holds Barred, Suburban Commando, and Mr. Nanny. He starred in television shows, commercials, talk shows, cartoons, action figures carrying his likeness filled toy stores across America. His face appeared on lunchboxes, video games, magazines, even breakfast cereals. Very few athletes had ever achieved that level of popularity. By the early 1990s, Hulk Hogan wasn't just a wrestler. He had become a global brand. But fame always comes with pressure. For years, Hogan carried WWE on his shoulders. Hundreds of matches every year. Constant travel. Little time for recovery. Night after night, he performed through injuries that most people never knew existed. Back pain, neck injuries, knee damage, hip problems. At the time, painkillers and determination kept him going. The fans saw the superhero. They never saw what happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Every body slam, every leg drop, every fall onto the ring slowly damaged his body. Yet Hogan refused to slow down. He believed the fans deserved everything he had, even if his body was paying the price. Eventually, another opportunity appeared, one that would completely reinvent his career. In 1996, Hulk Hogan shocked the wrestling world by doing something nobody thought was possible. He became the villain. Joining Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, Hogan formed the legendary New World Order, better known as the NWO. The red and yellow hero disappeared. In his place stood Hollywood Hogan. Fans who had cheered him for over a decade suddenly booed him. And amazingly, business became even bigger. The NWO storyline helped launch one of the greatest periods in wrestling history, known as the Monday Night Wars. Television ratings skyrocketed. Merchandise sales exploded. Once again, Hulk Hogan had changed professional wrestling forever. But while his career was reaching incredible new heights, his personal life was beginning to face challenges that would eventually become far more difficult than anything he experienced inside the ring. And those battles would shape the heartbreaking final years of one of wrestling's greatest legends. By the early 2000s, Hulk Hogan had achieved everything a professional wrestler could dream of. Multiple world championships, main events at WrestleMania, Hollywood movies, millions of devoted fans, and a place among the greatest icons in sports entertainment history. But while the world celebrated Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea was fighting a battle no championship could prepare him for: his own body. For more than 3 decades, Hogan had lived inside the wrestling ring. Every body slam, every suplex, every clothesline, every famous leg drop added more damage to his spine, hips, knees, shoulders, and back. The move that thrilled millions of fans, the running leg drop, eventually became one of the biggest reasons his body began breaking down. Years later, Hogan openly admitted that he had undergone so many surgeries that he sometimes joked there wasn't much of his original body left. The list seemed endless. Multiple back surgeries, neck operations, hip replacements, knee surgeries, shoulder procedures. Recovery became a permanent part of his life. Instead of preparing for championship matches, he found himself preparing for another operation, then another, and another. There were moments when simply walking became painful. Even standing for long periods required tremendous effort. Yet whenever fans approached him, the smile returned. He still posed for photographs, still signed autographs, still greeted everyone with the same energy that had made him famous decades earlier. Behind the scenes, life presented even more challenges. His marriage to Linda Hogan ended in a highly publicized divorce after more than 20 years together. The separation dominated entertainment headlines and became one of the most difficult periods of his personal life. Around the same time, his son, Nick Hogan, became involved in a devastating car accident that resulted in serious legal consequences and lifelong injuries for one of the passengers. The emotional toll on the family was enormous. Then came another storm. In 2015, secretly recorded comments made years earlier were released publicly. The backlash was immediate. WWE removed Hogan from its Hall of Fame. His profile disappeared from the company's website. Sponsors distanced themselves. Many fans wondered if the career of wrestling's biggest star had come to a painful end. Hogan later apologized publicly, saying his words were wrong and expressing deep regret. Over time, WWE reinstated him into the Hall of Fame, and many wrestlers acknowledged both his unmatched influence on the business and the importance of learning from past mistakes. Despite the controversy, one thing never changed: his impact on professional wrestling. No matter where fans stood on later events, very few could deny what Hulk Hogan had accomplished inside the ring. Without Hogan, there may never have been a WrestleMania as we know it. There may never have been Hulkamania. And professional wrestling might never have become the global entertainment phenomenon it is today. In his later years, Hogan married Sky Daly and often spoke about finding renewed happiness and focusing on family, faith, and his health. He also continued making appearances at wrestling conventions, charity events, and WWE celebrations whenever his health allowed. Fans who met him during those final years often described the same experience. The body looked older. The movements were slower. But the smile, the voice, and the love for his fans remained exactly the same. Then, on July 24, 2025, the news arrived that millions had feared would someday come. Hulk Hogan had passed away at the age of 71 after suffering cardiac arrest at his home in Clearwater, Florida. Within minutes, tributes flooded social media. WWE released an emotional statement honoring the man who had introduced professional wrestling to millions around the world. Fellow legends shared memories. Current superstars thank him for inspiring their careers. Fans posted old photographs, childhood memories, and clips of the moments that had defined an era. Across the wrestling world, it felt as though everyone had lost a piece of their childhood. Looking back today, it's easy to remember Hulk Hogan for the championships, the unforgettable entrances, the thunderous crowds, or the iconic body slam heard around the world. But perhaps his greatest achievement wasn't any single match. It was inspiring generations. He convinced millions of children to believe in themselves. He encouraged fans to work hard, stay strong, and never give up. His message may have sounded simple, but for many people, it meant everything. Like every human being, Terry Bollea was imperfect. He experienced triumphs, failures, controversies, pain, and redemption. His story reminds us that even the biggest heroes face struggles that the public rarely sees. Yet despite those struggles, his legacy remains impossible to erase. Because when people think about professional wrestling, one image still comes to mind. A man wearing red and yellow, ripping apart his t-shirt, pointing toward the crowd, and asking one unforgettable question. What you gonna do, brother? For millions of fans, the answer will always be the same. Remember the man who changed wrestling forever. Because legends don't disappear. They simply become part of history. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. What is your favorite Hulk Hogan memory? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.